All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Michael. I am with the City of West Palm Beach. I work in the Office of Sustainability. Today, we are so excited to be partnering with Manatee Lagoon to chat about manatees and their relationship with power plants. We have Rachel and Christian with us today, and from Manatee Lagoon, we're really excited about this topic. We've got a really great partnership with Manatee. So, we're really interested to have this discussion. If you have any questions about the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat box or in the question and answer box, and we will get around to them at the end. If you like today's program, please keep in mind that we have a few more scheduled here, and you can always visit wpb.org/green to view our upcoming programs. I will be sending out an email at the end of this presentation to follow up and send you a recording of the presentation so you can watch it a little bit later and share it with your friends and family. At that, I think we are about ready to get started. So ladies, Kristen, Rachel, take it away.
Thanks. All right, I will get us started. So we're so happy that you are here to learn about manatees and power plants and the connection between them. So as Michael mentioned, my name is Kristen Eaton, and I work as a senior wildlife biologist for NextEra Energy, which is the largest utility company in the world. We generate electricity and we transport it to power all things around us, whether in our homes or in the community. So here at NextEra, I work on a team of 6 biologists that oversee a variety of company projects across the US and Canada. Here in Florida, I work with a part of NextEra Energy called the Florida Power and Light Company, also known as FPL, which you'll hear mentioned several times during today's presentation. One of our values is to do the right thing for the environment, which includes protecting habitat and the animals that live in it. Here in Florida, we have several wildlife programs, including one for sea turtles and one for American crocodiles. But today, Rachel Schenker and I are going to focus on our manatee program. We'll explain why it is important that businesses like FPL are good stewards of the environment and share with you how you can help protect manatees and their habitat. Rachel will also share some really cool facts about manatees, so you'll want to stay tuned for her part of the presentation. But first, I'll share a little more about FPL's work. For more than 40 years, FPL has worked with a variety of agencies and organizations to protect manatees that come and visit our power plants. Over the years, we've created and shared educational brochures, and we've also done extensive research on manatee habitat and their behavior. One of the things that we're most proud of is that we built and now operate Manatee Lagoon and FPL Eco-Discovery Center here in Riviera Beach. The facility was created to educate the public about manatees and the habitat of Lake Worth Lagoon, which is the water body right outside the building. I think on the next slide, you can see where the building and the water are. There we go. But before we tell you more about Manatee Lagoon, let's take a step back to where it actually started and talk about the power plant that sits next to Manatee Lagoon. In 1945, FPL broke ground for the Riviera Beach power plant, and we completed construction in 1947. Company newsletters at the time mentioned that half the electricity from the new plant would power up the entire population of Palm Beach County, which is where we are today. At the time, the plant used about 550,000 barrels of oil every year. Over the next few decades, as the Florida population grew, so did the Riviera Beach power plant. In the 1960s, the power plant at Riviera Beach was capable of producing more than 30 times the amount of electricity of the original plant. And by the 2000s, we were using millions of gallons of oil each year, but a cleaner vision for our future was emerging at FPL, which led to this. In 2011, we demolished the old plant to make way for a new clean energy center. Construction began on a new plant powered by US-produced natural gas instead of the fuel oil. And this resulted in cutting the rate of carbon emissions in half and producing the same amount of electricity using a third less fuel. This was a huge win for the environment. In addition to that, we also took the environment into consideration when we worked with the manatees during demo and construction. All right, before the demo, you can see the old plant in this photo. It was well known that manatees would come to power plants all around Florida for warm water that they released. You can see here likely hundreds of manatees gathered for the warm water. Scientists documented how manatees adapted their migration and started stopping at these power plants. Historically, they would swim farther south or they would use natural springs, but unfortunately, they could no longer access some springs due to water level changes or blocked access, so they got used to coming to power plants. An important factor in this is that when the water temperatures drop below 68 degrees, manatees can become ill or even die, so it's essential that they have warm water habitat for them to survive. If they do get sick, they can experience cold stress, which is similar to hypothermia, which happens to people who become cold. So we knew that manatees were coming to Riviera Beach Power Plant to stay warm, and we knew that in order to generate power, the plant uses the water from Lake Worth Lagoon in a process called the once-through cooling process. And during this process, a portion of the warm water is discharged to the outflow where the manatees like to gather. So when we knew that there wouldn't be warm water being produced in the time frame when the new plant was being built, we had to get our heads together with the agencies to figure out what we were going to do to protect these manatees. Well, we decided to put in these heaters, which you can see in the photo on the lower right, and we were able to keep the manatees warm during winter. The other picture here is of manatees gathered near the heaters, so you can tell it worked out well. Some people might wonder why we would go to these lengths to protect manatees. Well, manatees are a protected species. They are protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972, the Endangered Species Act of 1973, and the Florida Manatee Sanctuary Act of 1978. The great news is that in 2017, the West Indian manatee, which includes the Florida manatee subspecies, was downlisted from endangered to threatened, which means the population was growing and manatees are doing much better than they were decades ago. This success was due to a lot of work done by many people and organizations interested in manatee protection. With protections still in place and with additional educational awareness, future success looks good for manatees. So, with education and awareness in mind, FPL wanted to do our part in providing access to viewing the manatees and learning more about them. We were required by permit to allow access for the public to come check out manatees at the Riviera Beach Power Plant, but we wanted to take it a step further and build Manatee Lagoon, an FPL Eco-Discovery Center. These photos show the center being constructed. My environmental team helped put this all together from what the building would look like to which photos would be included in the displays. This was a very exciting project for us to be a part of, knowing that for decades to come, this building would serve as an inspiration for people to protect the species. This center opened in February of 2016 with a mission to educate the public about manatees and Lake Worth Lagoon, inspiring communities to preserve and protect Florida's environment and wildlife for future generations. This mission highlights the role we all play in manatee conservation. And here at FPL, from our day-to-day decisions to planning for the future, the environment plays a major role in how we make these decisions. So as we move forward and things change, we'll need to consider what happens if power plants go away or that warm water is no longer allowed to be discharged. What are we going to do to protect these manatees? And that's a question that I'm working on, the agencies are working on, and you never know, maybe one of you watching now will be helping me in the future solve this issue. So it takes a lot of teamwork to protect a species like the manatee. This picture the picture on the next slide. Here we go. This picture is a great representation of how we partner with different agencies and organizations to do the work we do. This was taken at our Port Everglades plant tagging event. We tag manatees. We put the tag on their tail so we could follow the manatees to better understand where they went in the winter time. Rachel Schenker and I were there that day back in 2017, and you can see us at the right center. I have the blue shirt on and Rachel is standing up. You can see her blonde braid showing there. But Rachel works at Manatee Lagoon, and I'm going to turn it over to her so she can tell you about her role at the center and share some interesting facts about manatees.
Great. Thank you so much, Kristen, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is, as Kristen said, Rachel Schenker, and I'm known as a Manatee Master here at Manatee Lagoon. So Manatee Lagoon is made up of a team of Manatee Masters like myself, who are all students at Florida Atlantic University at some point in our schooling. So we're all trained to know all about manatees as well as the surrounding environment. And we serve as the center's educators, leading tours, programs, and talks just like this one today. So while we are currently closed due to the public due to COVID-19, when we are open, we welcome about 150,000 visitors each year. So our goal is to inspire those visitors and help them gain a greater appreciation of manatees, including why we should care about them and what we can do to protect them. So at our center, one of our favorite things to do is to share interesting facts about manatees. So one of those fun facts that I want to share with you all today is going to be actually phrased in a question first. I want you all to think about the answer before I give it away. So how many of you know how much a typical manatee eats each day? Could be rhetorical, or if you're feeling adventurous, you can type your answer out into the chat. Think they eat a lot or a little. Manatees eat approximately 10% of their body weight in vegetation every single day. So for the average manatee that weighs about 1,000 to 1,200 pounds, that's going to be about 100 pounds of vegetation, mainly seagrasses, every day that these animals are consuming. So in terms of human food, you can think of that as 400 quarter-pounder hamburgers, if you were to eat that many hamburgers every day. So it's quite a bit of food. And so a lot of people, because manatees eat so much and they are so large, people think that that food contributes to a manatee's big size. And a lot of people think that manatees have quite a bit of body fat. But that's another really common misconception. Manatees aren't really fat relative to their body size. So their digestive tract, including about 140 feet of intestines in the average adult, contributes to their overall size. So this digestive system, this really long, large digestive system, helps them to really efficiently process the vegetation that they eat, such as seagrasses. And a lot of those plants are low in nutrients. So that long digestive system helps them get all the nutrients they need to survive. But because manatees don't have sufficient blubber that would help them stay warm in the same way that thick layers of blubber help whales and dolphins stay warm, these animals, manatees, without insulation, have to seek out warm water when it gets cold. So they cannot survive in very cold water. And as Kristen described, when the temperatures drop, manatees gather in our clean, warm water outflow at the Manatee Lagoon right next to the power plant. So from our observation deck, we get to see the manatees swimming and resting in the nearby waters. So if the waters surrounding Manatee Lagoon are well above 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is that critical temperature that manatees can't survive below, then we may not see as many manatees as we would on a really cold day. During the warm days, instead, they're out spending their time somewhere else, searching for and eating food. But when the temperatures do drop, manatees may hunker down to stay warm near the center. So the highest count documented in the Manatee Lagoon, now Manatee Lagoon outflow, next to the Riviera Beach plant's outflow, was over 500 manatees at one time. So when those temperatures drop, we do have a very large number of manatees that can gather in our surrounding waters. The water today here is pretty warm, so it's unlikely that we would see a lot of manatees. However, we do have occasional sightings throughout the year and not just in the winter months when it gets cold. So if you want to see what's swimming in our outflow, especially now that we are closed for the time being, you can check out our Manatee Cam on our website. So you can visit visit manateelagoon.com/manatee-cam. And this is a 24-hour live streaming camera that points down at that outflow area. So we did see about 2 manatees today. If you do log on and get to see that, you may see those manatees swimming around in the outflow. So manatees are an important part of a healthy ecosystem in Florida. And as with any system, a change in one component can have an impact on other components, disrupting a balance. So we can all play a role in nurturing nature, but the industry also helps with that in this case. So Manatee Lagoon is one of several warm water locations in Florida, including several power plants where manatees like to gather. So maybe you guys have heard of manatee season. We are in manatee season right now, and this season here in Florida runs from November 15th through March 31st. So this is the season when manatees migrate further south to those warm water sites. So there are a few warm water sites in the northern areas of Florida as well, especially springs. But we see a lot more of them down here in South Florida because they're confined to these little warm water pockets, such as warm water outflows like the one we have at Manatee Lagoon. So seasonal speed zones and other protections also go into effect in Florida's waterways during manatee season in order to help protect these animals. So in addition to protecting manatees from human-related threats, such as entanglements and watercraft strikes, maintaining access to these warm water sites is really important in protecting these threatened species. So you all make a difference every day when you make sure that your waste and your trash ends up where it belongs. So you may also choose to create less waste, right? So reduce, reuse, recycle, and now a lot of people are saying refuse. So don't even take those single-use plastics in the first place, and you'll create less waste. So there's lots of ways that you can help to protect these animals as well as their habitat. You can learn more about manatees and share what you learn with others so that they too can be a part of the conservation of these amazing creatures. If you are lucky enough to go boating anywhere where manatees are found, you can learn the steps to take, such as posting a lookout to make sure there are no manatees in the path of your boat, and slowing down to help keep them safe. So thank you all so much for joining us for today's presentation. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you will stay connected with us, including checking out our other virtual learning resources on our website while we are closed. We have lots of ways for you to stay connected and learn all about manatees and the local ecosystem. And we hope that one day you will come visit us in the future. So thank you so much, and we are happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kristen and Rachel, for that really informative presentation. Really interesting stuff that you guys have going on out there. We do have a handful of questions from the audience, and I'm just going to pitch a few here at you and see what we come up with. The first question is, where do the manatees live during the summer? Do they live in Florida or do they live someplace else?
Yeah, so they do spend most of the year in Florida. A large percentage of the population is in Florida's shallow waters throughout the year, but some of them do travel up into the neighboring states. What kind of happens during manatee season is the whole population of manatees, which normally during the summer months are dispersed along the coast, so it's harder to spot one. All of those manatees are kind of stuck in these little warm water pockets. So it's a lot easier to see them. It's not that they're not here in the summer. It's more so that it's going to be a lot harder to see them because they're more spread out.
Awesome. Okay. So the manatees migrate. How do power plants and other warm water pockets affect this migration? Do they draw them in the winter, or how about the summer? Do they make any difference in the summer?
So I can start there. So power plants, play a very important role, as we talked about during the presentation. But it's interesting because it's been studied, and manatees actually have a different, warm water network that they use throughout their lifetime, and they know where to come back to, as soon as, if they've traveled north and the cold weather starts hitting, depending on if they're in North Florida or if they're in any of the northern states. that's when they'll start traveling south, and they know where certain power plants are, they know where different springs are, and so they'll know where to go to find those different warm water areas. And it's taught to them by their mothers when they're calves. And so it's this known warm water network that they use year after year.
Wow. All right. Very interesting. So they don't necessarily moderate their own body temperature, right? So they need to go find someplace warm to hang out when it gets cold.
Yeah, so they are mammals just like us. They are warm-blooded, so they can regulate their body temperature to a point. If you've ever, if you are located here in South Florida, you've probably seen the iguanas and lizards sunning themselves because they're cold-blooded. They can't moderate their temperature. So manatees are mammals. They can, but only to a point, right? So think about in the winter when it gets cold, if you go outside for too long without a coat, you're not going to be able to survive either. So because they don't have that blubber and that insulation like a lot of other cold water marine mammals do, they have to just go find warm water, kind of like we would put on a coat or just get in the house if it's too cold.
Okay, interesting. How about climate change? What can we expect with climate change and manatees? How do we think the manatees are going to react?
So, we can really talk to what we would do with the power plants and what the future of technology looks like. And so that's something that we are working on with the agencies very closely. There's something out called the Warm Water Habitat Action Plan that really discusses, what are the options for the future in case, if a power plant does shut down in 20 or 30 years, or there's a better technology, or we don't need to use that once through cooling process. What are we going to do for the manatees so that way they still have a place to go and they still have warm water to find and can survive? And when we have some colder winters or cold fronts that come through. So that's a long-term strategy that we'll be working on. I'll probably be working on that the rest of my career. So that is something that we're definitely being mindful of and trying to get ahead of it now instead of 30 years from now being, oh no, what do we do now? So we are working on that.
Okay. All right. Well, good. That's good news. At least there's some thought and some planning being done here. How can we, as citizens or residents here, how can we help the manatees? Is there anything we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that starting broad, right, helping their ecosystem as a whole is really going to help them. So more broadly speaking, reduce, reuse, recycle, say no to single-use plastics. There's other things that you can do within your own household to kind of reduce your impact on the environment. And then at a more specific level, if you are lucky enough to be a boat owner, you spend a lot of time on the water, you can definitely obey those speed limit postings when they go up during manatee season. So boat strikes are the leading human-related cause of death for manatees. So be careful if you are out there on a boat, slow down, post a lookout, someone to kind of stand up and watch out for manatees and other marine life as well, and just keep an eye out for them.
All right. Love your manatees. Okay, and the final question here we have, it's how did the two organizations connect? How did we get to where we are today to be working with Manatee Lagoon? I can say just from the city standpoint that Manatee Lagoon does actually fall right on the edge of the city boundaries. And so, they are an organization within our city. They do care a lot about sustainability and the environment. And of course, the Office of Sustainability wants to work with everybody. We definitely want to work with those who love the environment. And so I'd say that we've been working with Manatee Lagoon for a while now, off and on. We've got at least a rain barrel program and a tree giveaway program, again, scheduled with Manatee Lagoon later this year. So I would invite everybody to join in on our programs and definitely come check out Manatee Lagoon when you get a chance. It is an absolutely awesome site. One of my favorite places here in the city. So definitely peaceful, and I personally can't wait for them to open back up so I can go out there and see the manatees. So Kristen, Rachel, thank you very much for the presentation today. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to just kind of let you know about some of our additional programs we have going on here in the Office of Sustainability. I want to invite everybody to participate in our Backyard Bio Blitz. This is going on currently until February 22nd. We're going to be doing a presentation here at the end of the month. And this program really just invites everybody to come out and check out our native and non-native and all the different species of animals and plants, microorganisms that are out there, and just go out, take some pictures, and investigate. And we really want to see how many different species we have in Palm Beach County. We're really interested in that. Of course, we want to invite everybody to participate in our high efficiency toilet voucher program. This program can give a $125 voucher to city residents who qualify to replace the toilets in their house. We really want everybody to save water. And one way to do that is to put a new high efficiency, low flow toilet into your home. And the city's here to help. Go ahead to our website, wpb.org/savewater, to check this out. Again, we've got a rain barrel giveaway. Our next giveaway will be April 3rd, but we will be at Manatee Lagoon a little bit later this year. If you're interested in getting a rain barrel through our program, you can check out our website and register at wpb.org/savewater. So if you haven't received your rain barrel yet, go ahead and register. Come on out and get a rain barrel. This is another great water conservation measure that the city offers. Again, I already mentioned this, and we do it quite frequently, but trees are a major component to our city, and we invite everybody to, if you live in the city limits, to go ahead and take advantage of getting your 4 free trees a year. You can sign up to receive your trees at wpb.org/10ktrees. And I also want to invite you to our next presentation. This will be Sustainable Transportation on February 19th. So next week, you can go ahead and sign up to attend this one as well. And, we really invite everybody to come on out and keep participating and see what our office and our partners have going on. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you again, Kristen and Rachel, for your time. I hope everybody really enjoyed the presentation. It looks like we had a handful of questions here. Looks like we had a great group of attendees. So I would say it was a really nice time. Thank you everybody for coming out. And I hope you have a great weekend, a wonderful Friday. And please feel free to join us here again. Have a great time, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks a lot.